What do you think of when you hear the word vintage? A vintage car, vintage home, vintage clothing, maybe my personal favorite, a vintage record. On a recent trip to my parents' home, I may or may not have been snooping through some of their things. I was looking for board games, but I stumbled upon a sizable collection of old vinyl records. Must have been 1,000 of them. And as I was thumbing through the albums, looking at the covers, it was like being transported back to my childhood. These were the same records I used to listen to as a kid. Elvis, the Beatles, Pink Floyd, Lynyrd Skynyrd. My parents had all the good stuff in their collection. I remember being a child and listening, and it was so cool just taking those vinyls out, setting them down on the record player. I would get so nervous that I might drop the needle and scratch the record. My dad would have killed me if I scratched his Willie Nelson. And I'm pretty sure my mom would have laid on the floor and cried if I scratched her Eagles, Hotel California. There's just something cool about vinyl records. Did you know vinyls are making a comeback? In the year 2007, fewer than 1 million vinyls were sold in the US. But in this coming year, projections say more than 10 million will be sold. For all of the technological advances in music with CDs and MP3s, iTunes, Spotify, Pandora, lovers of music are going back to their roots. They're going vintage, listening to vinyl records. And I'll be the first to admit that vinyls are not the most convenient way to enjoy music, but when it comes to quality, a record like that is untouchable. You just can't beat it. The warmth, the natural tones, the unrestricted sound. You're hearing music the way the artist wanted you to hear it. I guess what I'm saying is sometimes we sacrifice quality for the purposes of convenience. And I wonder sometimes if that's what we've done in the church. For all our efforts to be trendy and hip, fashionable and relevant, I wonder if we're hearing the gospel melody the way the Creator intended. Or have we remastered and remixed the gospel to make it fit into our hurried, breakneck pace of life? Are we singing along to a song that has become monotone and unmoving, lacking in depth and richness? As a follower of Christ, if you find yourself craving more, feeling that you're no longer hearing the tones and melodies that the Creator intended, I invite you to go vintage, to rediscover the song of the gospel the way it was intended to be heard. If you are a seeker or a wanderer, knowing that there must be a God, but you're unsure of how to discover Him, how to connect with Him, and how to know what His plan is for your life, I invite you to go vintage. Let's leave behind the superficial and the shallow. Let's dial into the purpose that we were created for, knowing God. If you want 2016 to be a breakout banner year for you, I invite you, come and join me on this journey of vintage faith.